The craving for sugar feels very different from one person to the next, and for me, saying no to those, tiny and sweet crystals is nearly impossible. And it always takes a lot of conscious effort for me to resist the temptation in the chocolate aisle. But now for the first time ever, I don't find it hard at all. In this video, I'm going to talk about how and why and how long it took for that inflection point to happen. I usually have to restrict my intake of sweets to once a week or in the weekends or something like that. No restrictions for me equals no inhibitions. I have no boundaries. But then you always hear about those people that ditch ice cream and chocolate. Suddenly they don't want it anymore. I had to go all in and see if I'm able to achieve that myself. So I committed to not touching any kind of candy, ice cream, baked goods for 60 days. I can't see you or hear you from the other side of the internet wall. But I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for the thoughts that you're sending me, for the immense courage it takes me to do this, to go through these 60 days, and how hard it is. So after around 2 weeks of abstinence, the worst craving started to fade. And if you're like me, 2 weeks is a pretty long time without anything sweet, so pretty big deal. So it didn't really take too much time before it started getting a bit easier, but I still often wanted to consume sweet things. And that is because of the second reason why I think I ate so much of it. And that is because there are tons of situations that I associate strongly with eating candy. So even if the biological cravings, if you could say that, are not present, still if it's Friday night, it's quarantine time, you're gonna chill on the sofa, watch something on Netflix. It's just not as nice without that bucket of Ben & Jerry's. Or maybe you're going to visit your grandparents and that situation is just not the same without a muffin. So that means it's still a struggle. I thought the job was done after 2 weeks, but But then after a month or 5 weeks, I started disassociating eating sugar with those situations naturally. I started getting used to rather going for other alternatives. Wine bottle after beer after. So I no longer needed to eat something unhealthy in order to enjoy myself, and the association part of this sugar craving was dealt with. So that means after a month you're healed. Bye-bye sugar addiction. Well, the problem now was that I still was looking much forward to these 60 days to be over so that I finally could eat chocolate. But that doesn't really make sense. I would have thought that the expectations should decrease in proportion to the cravings. I think it's pretty interesting how my excitement and expectations was the same, even though the premise was no longer there. Another week went by and I got to dwell a bit on this, and then I started to disconnect also from the challenge itself, from the commitment, from looking forward to like the countdown timer to be over. And I think that might be the last piece of the puzzle to overcome sugar addiction, at least for me. So what I've learned is that I need to get past these 3 levels in order to beat my sugar addiction. I need to beat cravings, which takes 2 weeks of abstinence. I need to disassociate certain situations with sugar and find replacements. And the 3rd level is just being aware. 6 to 7 weeks and the sugar addiction is gone. Right now it's 3 days until this 60 days challenge is over, and this will be a super easy way of transitioning into being fine with not eating much sugar, but I'm not going to stop. Maybe this challenge has given me the ability to restrain myself better, hopefully. I don't feel like being that hard on myself. Why should I just stop it forever? But one more thing, did I lose weight? I was actually not going to make a video about this because it was just something I wanted to do. But I was going to make a video if I could see a significant change in my physique. And that's because I've done all kinds of different experiments in the past to see how it affects my physique. And now I wanted to see how only ditching sugar would affect my physique and nothing else. So no restrictions in my carb intake, calorie intake, and training. I tried to reduce it, stupid as it might sound. Done mostly stretching and mobility work, just to try to isolate the effect of the sugar as good as I can. And the results? Yeah, are a very insignificant change. I honestly thought it was gonna make a bit more of a difference to ditch candy for 2 months, but apparently it's a bit harder than that. The energy level of this video is just... It feels so childish sitting here as a grown man talking about how much I like candy. But since I'm gifted with this giant sweet tooth, I feel like I owe it to all the like-minded or like-toothed people to share my experience. Thank you for watching, and sugar addicts unite. Yeah.